Hey, what's up, guys? This is Anthony. I'm trying to see if my mic is operational here. Let's see. Check 1 2, check 1 2, check 1 2. Just trying to see if anybody can hear me right now. Okay. Okay, cool. All right. What is up, folks? This is Anthony, of course, with the VR Game Rankings YouTube channel. What is going on, everybody? It is Saturday. It is October 20th, and man, my chat. Hold on, guys. My chat deal is a little bit messed up here. You know what's crazy, man, is I've reinstalled. I reinstalled Windows, right, on this SSD. Let's see. Okay, that I don't know if that. I'll just let's see. We'll go like this, maybe. I reinstalled Windows on this SSD, and I made a terrible mistake by not saving, by not checking what all my little, all my little settings are. So I had to basically just kind of like redo everything from the top and try to assume that I would get things right. And I don't want to cut off chat too much here where we can't see. Man, I think I need to fix chat. Well, I'll probably have to work on that a little bit later. But it's good enough. Okay, so what is going on, folks? Once again, it is Saturday. It is the 20th. And so I have a couple of things to talk about real quick before we get into today's show. First of all, again, there's nothing prepared. So I will just be going to like Upload VR, Road to VR. We could go to the Vive subreddit. We can, of course, talk about War Dust. I haven't actually played War Dust yet. However, I do have really good news. I found out that War Dust is like available. I didn't know that until this morning, that War Dust is out there. People can actually buy War Dust. And so I decided to shoot off an email real quick to Raptor Labs and see if I might be able to get a code. And they already emailed me back a code. I've already downloaded it. Haven't had a chance to go into it. I do need to fix some more things in my PC. I'm still having PC issues. I'm still having a little bit of PC troubles. So why don't we go ahead and get into the PC discussion for a second here about what's currently going on. So what I did was, after the show yesterday, you noticed there was no 20-minute version of the show yesterday. And the reason why is after the show was over, I began the process of trying to install my SSD and, a fresh install of Windows. And I do have apologies because I have dogs. These neighbors' dogs are barking like crazy. They're barking like crazy. I don't know if you guys can pick it up, but if you can, just letting you know there. But so I did the install. I put Windows on an SSD and it's working. It's working. How awesome is that? It is actually operational. I don't know, my camera, I might have like some settings on my camera not quite dialed in if the video looks a little bit different here. I've tried to reset everything up the way it was before. I think it's all operational. And you know, one of the cool things too is by redoing OBS, I actually figured something out about OBS. I figured out how to take out these little audio indicators that aren't being used. Like you can hide them. I don't know why I didn't know that you could hide them. And so I've set up my OBS a little bit better. So is not being prepared is the new being prepared. Yeah, pretty much. So no, I want to talk about the not being prepared thing. Because the truth is, guys, until my PC is back to normal function, until I can just come over here and if I want to get into an Oculus Rift game, or if I want to load up something on Steam, if I want to play War Dust, for example, until I have all that dialed in, I'm going to be discombobulated, you know? I'm not going to be right. Something is wrong, man. Something is wrong. And until this PC is dialed in, I'm not going to be satisfied. And the problem is I can't really relax and like look at normal news and try to get things dialed in because I'm just concerned with this whole PC thing. And so maybe it sounds like a really lame excuse, but it's the God's honest truth. I need to get this PC thing dialed in, and I need to return to normalcy, and then I can get into news and have news prepared and everything. But I'm still going to do this show. I'm still going to jump on here and just kind of go off the cuff, and we can talk about news stories and stuff, and I'll try to do the best. My apologies. Straight up, my apologies. But I can tell you this, is when everything is back to normal, and when I'm back into the normal groove, the shows will return to normal. And I think there will be much better shows coming up in the coming days. Okay, so Paradise Decay has the question at VR Game Rankings. Is your PC working like normal? And I would say everything except for playing VR games it is. Although I've only tried, since I've done this Windows refresh, I've only tried one game. I went into Windlands 2, okay? I went into Windlands 2 last night, and at first when I was in Windlands 2, it seemed to be playing pretty good, and things seemed to be working pretty good. And then what I did, I still don't like this chat. My chat is messed up. Hold on a minute, man. I don't like it when the chat, like when you can't see the most recent message. So I'm gonna have to make this small, I'm gonna have to make this a little bit smaller, and I'll just have to fix the sizing later. Hopefully, this still is cutting messages off. Wow, I must have made it way too tall. Okay, I wonder, is Greg's no? Whoa, I made this chat like way too tall. Okay, I guess I'll just have to screw with it later. Okay, man, I have chat totally borked. I'll have to work on chat later. Apologies for this, guys. I had to redo all the OBS. Like, I don't know why I didn't write down all my settings. What a total idiot. I was like making sure I had all my favorites for different websites and stuff. You know when you guys refresh Windows, there is always something you forget about. And so a ton of chat is being cut off right now. So apologies for that. But basically, I went into Windlands, right? And at first, it seemed like everything was going kind of good. And then I remembered, wait a minute, I've got a 1080 Ti. I should start bumping up some of these settings. And so I went into the options, and there's a number of different settings that are in Windlands 2. And I started bumping a couple of them up. And then the performance got really bad. And then I tried resetting it and getting it back to normal. And then the performance was still not right. So I don't know, man. Something is still kind of weird. Now, I do have some good news, though. Stop stretching it bigger. No, but here's the thing, Charles. If I don't stretch, I can make it really small, but it's just going to look really ugly during today's show because it's going to have a black background. You know, and I'm not really a fan of that little black background in the background. I mean, I guess I can deal with it for one day. Oh, man. Dude, these settings My settings are completely borked on chat. It's going way down here. Way down here. Shit show continues. Okay, there we go. That might be the final post down there. Terry Blanchard, way down at the bottom. I could make it this small. Yeah, check this out, guys. Okay, so that's the very top right there. This is the very bottom. I could see this blue area. I could eliminate all that black, right? And do that blue area over there. And then I can make my game trailer window a little bit bigger. I can make my window a little bit bigger. But I don't know. I wonder if this is too small, but I could do this. You know, I could gain a lot of real estate. It would make chat quite small. Like even over there. Look at, I could squeeze it all the way over there. So anyway, back to the PC situation. Yeah, so the game wasn't playing very good. Windlands 2, that's all I've tried though, and I've only tried it one time, and so you know, the journey continues, but I haven't re-overclocked my i5 2500K. I haven't bothered with that at all. So I do have a fresh, brand new, clean install of Windows on my SSD. I don't even have my other hard drive connected. All I have is this 500 gig SSD, and I've gone through the process of downloading like the Firefox browser and the Chrome browser, 4K video downloader. I had to download GIMP, of course. I got my Oculus software. I just downloaded Steam like a few minutes ago. Well, like an hour or so ago, and that was because I got a key for War Dust, and so I downloaded War Dust. So War Dust is the first Steam game I've downloaded to this hard drive, and I'm just kind of testing some things out. And the good news is, one of the good news aspects of this is I can go over to these web pages, and they don't seem to be having any problems. And I don't think my videos are stuttering either. So I think there has been some correction here. So here's web browser with small video window, you know, and I can move this around, and I've got, you know, Road to VR, you know, where's Upload VR? Okay, here's Upload VR, and, you know, I can scroll up and down pretty quick. So all my web pages seem to be working relatively well, so I feel kind of good about that. And I got my standard scene set up. Obviously need to fix chat over here. I got my full screen trailer set up. Full screen trailer with video window here. I got my Skype guest for when I eventually have Skype guests. Of course, it has my old style. These are the old chat window, really, really thick, but missing a ton of shit there. The nice thing about this is I'm going to be able to look at this video later on YouTube, and I'm going to compare this chat window to this super tiny one I have over here. Because if the super tiny one, if that works out good, then it's more real estate for the game trailer window, more real estate for my window, and then when we have a guest, more real estate for their window as well. So anyway, we're kind of like doing some tech support right now live. But yeah, so far the game playing hasn't worked. I'm curious if simply overclocking my i5 2500K, is that really the cause of the problems that I'm having playing Windlands 2 last night? Maybe I should have went into In Death, because I believe I played In Death without re-overclocking everything, and that was playing relatively well. So maybe I should try to go back into In Death. But one of the things I need to do is I need to re-overclock the CPU, obviously, and I have to watch a guide. It's been so long. I did that probably like April 2016 or maybe May 2016 when I got my Vive. That's when I overclocked it, right around there. And I found some guide somewhere and followed the guide, and I think I was overclocking it to about like 4.3 gigahertz or something like that. Maybe backed off it a little bit and went about 4.2. But Terry Blanchard says, no, it's your slow RAM speed and your 8 gig RAM roof. But here's the thing, Terry. The RAM has been the same forever. The RAM has been the way it's been, and I've been playing games no problem. I've been playing Red Matter and Lone Echo and all these games with that crappy RAM, slow RAM, only 8 gigs. So I don't think it can't be the RAM. It's not the RAM. So now let's see. Somebody was, Simplex PL, and he's been working with me. And check this out, guys. Did you know Simplex is in Poland? And I thought for sure he was an English speaker living in Poland, but no, he's a native Polish person that understands English very well. Much love to Simplex PL. He's been helping me a little bit with doing some things that I've been working on. Now he's saying a non-overclocked 2500K is a potato now. I don't know. I don't know if it's that bad, man. I don't know. But I will overclock it later today. I will figure this out, and I will try to see what's going on there. The other thing I'm going to have to do at a certain point in time, I have never taken this 1080 Ti and like took it somewhere where it went in somebody else's PC and they can test it and make sure it's working. Maybe there's something wrong with this 1080 Ti. I mean, it's a possibility. I don't think so, but it's a possibility. That's something I'll need to check as well. What is your CPU clocked at right now, Anthony? It's just the standard, what is it, like 3.3 or something? I believe it's whatever the standard is, just the normal. I believe it's 3.3. Charles Van Nolan says he spent enough money on the problem. It's obviously a software config thing, not a hardware issue. Yeah, I don't know. It definitely could be something with the BIOS, because resetting the BIOS, I'm not sure all the different settings I've ever made to that BIOS. And so it could very well be that, and it could be needing to overclock my Intel CPU and all of that shit. Anyway, Matthew Lake says, still not fixed. Did you try what I suggested? Well, Matthew, the first thing I wanted to do is reload. Everybody has their suggestions here. And trust me, I know you guys have a lot of good suggestions, but like one guy is suggesting do this. One guy is suggesting do that. One guy is suggesting this, that, and the other thing. And it's a lot of suggestions. It's a lot of different paths to take. And so I want to kind of just relax for a second. Charles Van Nolan says it's got to be the overclock if you drop from 4 gigahertz to 3.3. That is a huge drop. And, that could be a possibility. CJ says turn off the trailer. Do you mean change the trailer? Can we change the trailer? Okay, yeah. Oh, is the music really loud? I've got to figure out this music thing. I really do, because you know what? In OBS right now, it's barely showing volume at all for the music, yet it's still loud for you guys. I need to figure out the music thing. This is something I'm going to need to do. In fact, you know what I might do later on this evening? Later on this evening, so I'll put a different trailer on. Let me find another trailer. Let's see here. Let's go ahead and let's try Nog. Nog's a beautiful trailer. So one of the things I need to figure out, okay, so the music is really, really low. Let's see here. I need to figure out the music volume. So like, is this really, is this pretty loud for people? I'm gonna have to figure out the music volume at some point, because that's one thing I've never been able to get dialed in. Because I'll tell you what, guys, when I'm doing my thumbnails later and I'm watching one of my videos that's already on YouTube, sometimes the game trailer music is way louder than I would like it to be. I have these volume indicators in OBS that tell me how loud it is, but it's obviously a big difference from what you guys are hearing. So I have to figure that out. Now I've put it down really, really low, but what I'm gonna have to do, honestly, is I'm gonna have to do my own little, I'm gonna have to do a little live stream experiment where I just keep playing around with the volume until I dial it in, and I'll just delete it later, and maybe also get my chat window correct. Okay, so any trailer after 15 minutes gets old. Yeah, that's one of the problems I've been having lately as well, is not swapping all these trailers here. I know that is a problem as well. Okay, so bottom line, what I'm trying to say is eventually I'm going to get all this stuff dialed in. The show will return to normalcy. Apologies for all of this. Let's go ahead and check out Upload VR and see what are some of the latest stories that are going on right now. So over here, we can see that Intel has opened up a tech learning lab roaming VR truck in the Bronx. That sounds kind of cool. Haven't checked that out. We did hear about this. HTC has revealed the 6 Dolph Lundgren controllers for the Vive Focus standalone headset. So legit 6 degree of freedom controllers is coming to the Vive Focus. And then the other thing that HTC talked about is the Vive Pro, some basic finger tracking and hand tracking. I think they talked about that as well. Samsung is working on a VR AR hybrid headset. Already tested a prototype. That's interesting. See, I haven't checked out a lot of these news stories. I've been so busy with just other miscellaneous stuff. I haven't been banging away on this stuff. And where are investors placing their bets in VR and AR? Do any of you guys invest in the stock market? Because I'll tell you what, back in the late 90s, I was really into the stock market in a major way. And I had investments in Microsoft, in Intel. Do you remember this company called DoubleClick? I was an early investor in DoubleClick. I mean, we're talking small amounts of money, but some of these stocks freaking blew up really nice, and it was really cool for a minute there. I was starting to think I was the Wall Street kid. You know, this was in the late 90s for a little while there, and then I got absolutely murdered. And I believe it was March 2000, or like, remember the internet bubble that bursted? I got freaking decimated by that. But for a minute there, I was making some good money in the stock market, and it was all bad after that. Early 2000, the bubble bursting. I had a million investments in all these different internet companies. I got too greedy. Yeah, it was the dot-com bubble, and it burst my butt. But I was just curious, are any of you guys into investing? Because I haven't really thought about where I would try to invest some money if I was going to try to make a play on the whole VR AR thing. I think one of the investments, like one of the industries I might get into, would be the ramifications of a lot of people losing weight, because I really think long term the future of VR and AR is the human race. The human race has gotten to this like really obese situation. We have a problem with obesity worldwide, but especially in countries like the US and other countries as well. We've got a serious obesity problem, but I think VR and AR especially, I think it is just naturally going to get you up off your ass, and you're going to be moving around, and there has to be some kind of ramification of that you could invest in that is affected by that. So that's something I've thought about. And then, you know, these stories, we've heard all of these stories before. Okay, another thing we can talk about though is Wardust. So Wardust is available. So this actually technically released yesterday on October 19th. It has 38 reviews. They are positive. The developer is Raptor Lab. They did hook me up with a code. Full disclosure, I have not checked it out yet. My plan is I want to like do my overclock on my i5, do all of that, and then maybe give Wardust a try. I haven't tried Steam on this rig since the Windows update at all. I just downloaded Steam, just loaded up Steam very recently. So I will be trying this. I will have my thoughts on this. However, if I don't get my PC right, like I don't think it's fair to some of these other companies, like even Mind Labyrinth VR Dreams. Like I will, once I get my PC dialed in, I have to revisit Mind Labyrinth VR Dreams. And I can't be too critical about any kind of a situation I feel with Wardust until I get my PC dialed in. So that is one caveat I will say. But I'm definitely going to try this at some point later today, regardless of everything else. Now, the price. The price is kind of interesting here because normal price, we're talking $25, but it has a huge promotional discount right here, 40% off. And that drops it down to $15. So a lot of people are like, well, man, you can save $10 if you jump in on this early. Now, 64 players on the battlefield, 32 versus 32. And a lot of people have been talking about the beta of this, and they're saying that it is really good. Like the alpha, the beta, the different things that people have gone in. Join the battlefield. Do you think it's any accident, guys? Do you think it's any accident whatsoever that I see the words battlefield right here and it looks the way it looks? Do you think that's any kind of an accident? Absolutely no. Yeah, that's what they're trying to do here. They are trying to jump on the battlefield train. Now, the thing that we have to understand here, so I'm going to go ahead, I will grab a Wardust trailer here since we're talking about it. Although, you know, I haven't checked to see, do they have a brand new launch day trailer? Sometimes like the day a game comes out, they'll have a brand new trailer. I haven't looked for that. Okay, now I gotta find where is my Wardust trailer because I've moved things all over the place. Hold on one sec, guys. But yeah, so Wardust, a lot of people are talking some really good things about that. I will find out where this is. Oh, okay, it's in my regular folder. Okay, that's the problem there. Alrighty. And, I'm not seeing it in my regular folder. Damn. Sorry, guys. Okay, this is just stopping the show right here. Where did I put it? Hold on. I'm going to do another search for this again. Swore I had this trailer. Oh, no, that's... Ah, dude, I don't have the trailer. It must have been on some other thing. Well, anyways, you know what I can do? I can go ahead and grab... We can go ahead and grab whatever new trailer they have right now live on the air. That's not a problem. So let me go ahead and do that real quick. You guys, of course, can discuss amongst yourselves. Wardust VR. Wardust VR. Here's Raptor Lab. Okay, yeah, they just have the trailer from 2 weeks ago. I'll just go ahead and grab it real quick. I know it's on my computer somewhere, but where it is, I know not. So this will be the first trailer I've grabbed since changing up. And oh, you know, it's giving me options now. I think I didn't allow this before for like different versions of the videos. So that'll be good. This is going to be it's 720p though. They don't have a 1080p option. So I'll have to resize my window here. Apologies, folks. All right, so let's go ahead and grab this. Okay. Sorry, because you know what? Things are going to different locations now. Yeah, so I gotta refine where everything's going. And this is what happens when you reload Windows. Why can't... Okay, where's videos? Here we go. See, I gotta actually go into the 4K video downloader folder because I don't have it redone here. Okay. So here's Wardust anyway. That took like way too long and derailed the show way too much. But it's all right. Okay, so let's see what are folks talking about here. Logan68 says War Room gets cramped. Can we go back to the trailer we were watching earlier? I was wrong. I miss it now. That's I Am Rust. And my Astrobot came today, hyped. Okay, Logan68, he's talking about Wardust. Flying the jet is a bit buggy. Seems to be out of the jet when turning. Just saying, don't expect your world to change, blah, blah, blah. Nope, literally just got it. Wardust looks pretty rad. So, anyways, yeah, so apologies, guys. I know we got off track here trying to get this trailer, but we'll be back in the mix in a second here. But I don't know. I'm kind of excited about this game. Again, I'm not the multiplayer guy. But when you have 32 on 32, it's not so much on your ass individually. You know, it's not 4-on-4 where people get really pissed, or 3-on-3, or 2-on-2 where you're really letting somebody down. So if you're just one of 32 people, you could be totally ass and you can kind of get away with it and hide in the background without causing too much attention to yourself. So I don't know, I'm looking forward to trying it. A lot of people raving about it, so definitely worth checking out. That is Wardust. It's only 15 bucks. Now there is a bit of controversy though in terms of Wardust here. Let me go ahead and get over here to the Vive subreddit, because there is legitimate controversy that is going on over here on the Vive subreddit about Wardust VR. So it says Battlefield, this is the #1 upvoted thing, right? Battlefield in VR, Wardust VR, 86 comments. But if you get into this discussion in here, a lot of people are talking about how these developers, Raptor Labs, how they have other games that are in early access that they feel like they haven't taken care of these other games. And yet here they are with a brand new game called Wardust, that they keep kind of doing this. And so some people are complaining about that. Now, these guys just gave me a code, so should I be talking smack about them? Well, here's the thing. I need to be true to my audience, period. So I'm just going to say the facts the way they are. This is what people are talking about. I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying what people are talking about. But a lot of people are saying that they, they had Art of the Fight. They abandoned that. They did it with Dust Vault. Then they abandoned that. Then they did Standout. It seems like they haven't really done a lot with Standout, although a lot of people love Standout. Just basically, some people here are complaining that Raptor Labs keeps making a slightly new version of the same game and then calling it a completely different game. And they're trying to sell it like that. And so they're kind of saying, this isn't right. Like Wardust, this could have just been an update. This could have been an update to Standout. It didn't need to be a separate game. However, the comment I have to say in regards to this idea is one of the things that you have to understand with these developers that are in VR. A lot of these developers in VR, they bring out a game, they only sell like 500, 600, 700, 2,000 copies. They don't sell enough copies, and then their game gets lost in the dust. So can I complain when one of these developers takes that game and kind of remolds it, adds some different things with it, and calls it a whole new game and tries to sell it as a whole new game? I don't think it's so much that they're trying to scam the people that bought their first game. I think what they're trying to do is they're trying to get attention for this new game, and it's a new game, so it'll get a new wave of attention, where if it's just an update to an existing game, it doesn't get the same kind of attention as being a brand new game. So there are people complaining about this, but I understand it from their standpoint as well. So I don't know, it's a hard game to play here. Paradise Decay says, I played Wardust last night with my PlayStation aim controller as a prop. Very immersive. That's funny. And I Am Rut says, people complain about everything. I say give it a shot, and if you don't like it, return it. Well, the truth is it's only 15 bucks. So I mean, the price, it's an interesting price that they went with, because it really does kind of, it's funny how they did this. The normal price is 25 bucks. You can grab it for 15. That puts a lot of pressure on people. Like, you better just buy the damn game. It's probably a good idea for them to do that. Factory Life says they are still updating Standout. Just hadn't done one for quite some time. Hasn't had an update for quite some time, but they continue to update that. I mean, there's a lot of people that swear by Standout and absolutely love Standout. So even though some of the people that are in this thread, in this Reddit thread, are saying they keep bouncing from all their different games. They keep making these new games before they're finishing their older games, or before they're finally done with their older games. That's the complaint, and I understand the complaint. It's a valid complaint that, hey, you haven't fixed your own game here, but you shouldn't be doing it's the same complaint people can make about making a PlayStation VR version of a game that's on the PC that maybe isn't even working right on the PC. It's like, should you really be making a PlayStation VR version when your PC version isn't really working right? Shouldn't you get that buttoned up and then make the PlayStation VR version? But at the same time, a lot of these devs, man, they just want to survive to see the next year. They want to still be in business next year so we can have all of our moral thought process. But for them, they just want to remain in business. And just to remain in business, they got to do what they got to do. Paradise says he rated War Dust very enjoyable so far, and it's still EA. And Chris says Zero Caliber looks a lot better than this, I think. It's hard to say, you know, it's another one of these gun games where you see the gun up here like this, you see the scope, you know, the iron sights look that we see with Zero Killed, Zero Caliber, Firewall Zero Hour. All of these games kind of have that same look, and so they're all kind of going after the same market. But this is 32 versus 32. We don't have too many games that we really don't have a legit Battlefield clone for VR yet. This is probably the first legitimate Battlefield clone. So yeah, not too bad. That is War Dust. So I mean, that's in the news. I know that's a topic. Let's see. We can go ahead and check and see what Road to VR is talking about. Let's go ahead and bounce over there. So over here on Road to VR, Viveport Halloween sale brings discounts to VR horror games until November 4th. Let's go ahead and click on this. Let's see what their prices are, although obviously none of us really want to screw around with Viveport. And me, with all the PC problems I have, I especially don't want to mess with Viveport. But, you know, looking at these sale prices, ZR Zombie Riot is $4. You know, Brookhaven Experiment, $5. That's ridiculous. If anyone has Viveport and you're able to play stuff on Viveport and it works for you, grab the Brookhaven Experiment. The Brookhaven Experiment is so freaking underrated. It is a straight up wavy ass wave shooter. It is incredibly simplistic, but I personally believe that the Brookhaven Experiment is a wave shooter done right. I really like Brookhaven Experiment. It can be scary though. Like, I don't have a problem with a lot of these horror games. Brookhaven Experiment, you get me into that sewer with those bug things, and that scares the living daylights out of me. But most of us don't have Viveport on our computers. We've heard too many horror stories. I know there's a few people out there that do. I can tell you this, if I end up building an entirely new PC, then I will end up having basically two PCs, because what I'll do is I'll use my old motherboard and the old memory and the old CPU, and I'll go with my 970 again, and that'll be my crappy little ghetto VR gaming PC that can barely kind of work, and maybe I'll download Viveport on that, but I won't risk it on my main system. But there might be some of you guys out there that have multiple systems, so you have a backup option. And yeah, this is what I was talking about. I did hear about this. I maybe heard about it on a Reddit thread or something, that HTC is planning to bring hand and finger tracking to the Vive Pro. This is one of the things that they did with the Vive Pro. They have those two little cameras on there. And I know people have said that these really aren't the ideal kind of cameras that you'd want to have for proper pass-through and for AR support and all of that. But at least they've got something going on here where when you compare it to the Oculus Quest, you know, the Oculus Quest decided not to put two little cameras on the front there like that. And I'm a little bit disappointed in that, to be honest with you guys. I mean, obviously it's going to add some cost to it, but what is two more little cameras? Because look at this, you know, the Vive Focus, it's got the two little cameras right there on the front as well. It allows for that mixed reality. It allows for some of that AR capability. Here's a video right here where they're doing some they're doing some Beat Saber with the 6 Degrees of Freedom. So you can play Beat Saber on the Vive Focus. That's interesting. This guy's playing Beat Saber on Vive Focus. So these are these new 6 Degree of Freedom controllers. Looks pretty cool. And so yeah, this is kind of an exciting news right here, actually, if you were to get yourself a Vive Focus. Of course, in the standalone category, with the Oculus Quest looming out there, it's very difficult. It's very difficult to want to buy like a Lenovo Mirage Solo or a Vive Focus or any of these other standalones when you know the Oculus Quest is going to be here in spring of 2019. But the question is, okay, so they're streaming from a PC, streaming Beat Saber, I see. So we don't have Beat Saber working natively on the Vive Focus. I was going to say, how do they get Beat Saber working natively on the Vive Focus? But yeah, you know, going back to chat, I Am Rhett says Viveport, rush to crash your PC. There are a handful of people out there that are using Viveport successfully, but they're kind of rare. Chris says it's only a wave shooter, but Brookhaven is one of the better ones. Terry Blanchard says played Brookhaven first on PSVR, then months later on Vive, and much better graphics. I've never tried Brookhaven on PlayStation VR, but on the HTC Vive, well, I mostly played it on the Vive, and it is a very simple wave shooter. It's a very simple wave shooter, but it's effective. It is really 360 degrees because you really have shit coming at you from like 8 or 9 different possible locations. And so it's a management game. It's managing how much ammo you have. And it's really critical before each wave choosing what games you're going to buy. I'm telling you, man, Brookhaven Experiment is very solid. And if you could get it, it's too bad you can't just get it for $5 on Steam. It has gone on deep discount a number of times, though. So there are some deep discounts for Brookhaven. Bullet Ape says the concerning thing on PC VR is the active user base is way lower than the total sales. Seems a lot of HMDs have been shelved, broken to me. Well, Bullet Ape, you bring up a very, very interesting point, because sometimes when I'm on NeoGAF or some of these other forums that they're not necessarily VR centric, it's more flat gamers, I do hear a lot of people talking about how they haven't played their Vive in 4 months, or they haven't played their Rift in 4 months. And it is shocking to me. It is really shocking to me that people can experience VR and then decide, I don't care about VR anymore, because VR completely ruined flat games for me. I can't play flat games, but there are people that have actually put their Vives away, their Rifts away, their PlayStation VRs away, and it's bonkers to me. But yeah, there are people like that. Lethal Weasel VR says never played Brookhaven, and Evil games are my favorite. Yeah, next the next sale that comes down the line for Brookhaven, you definitely want to go ahead and grab that. Okay, so I'm going to switch off of this video here. We got to remember that we shouldn't run videos forever and ever and ever, and we got to run some different videos, something that switches it up. Let's see, what could I throw on that is something different? Well, let's try a Gorn trailer in the background. Of course, yeah. Well, this is 1080p, so it was the Raptor Lab one that I needed to convert. All right, so yeah, going back to chat, VRium said, but they said these Quest cameras will allow full body tracking. Well, the thing is, okay, so the Quest does have those 4 cameras, and they did show some mixed reality with the keyboard, with that AHA video mode, and they also said that there could be some pass-through as well. But to me it sounds like all of that is very experimental. Like, that is not going to be part of, like, you're really going to have to wait for Quest 2.0 with legit cameras spaced out on the front to really, really experience that. And so I kind of feel like all future headsets, especially headsets coming out in 2019, like I originally said that any headset that comes out in 2019 that is over, say, $350 should have eye tracking as a standard and should have pass-through video and AR support, mixed reality support as kind of a built-in standard. I've said that, and that might be a little aggressive, but I would say, okay, if not 2019, then how about we all agree by 2020 it should be standard? Does everybody agree? By 2020, if your headset costs more than $300, you better have eye tracking, and you better have cameras on the front, for mixed reality, for pass-through, for hand tracking, for all of that. It should all be built in at that point, at least by 2020. Okay, so Paradise Decay has to check out. Paradise, we'll see you later. Take it easy. Andy Sky says, I'm getting Pimax 5K very soon. Hopefully my 1080 can push 60 frames on most games. Yeah, that's been in the news as well, that Pimax is delivering some of their... Let me see. Let me go back to the Vive subreddit here and see if I can see it. But I did see that Pimax is starting... They're starting the process of rolling out the 5K pluses, and all the Pimax 8K headsets are starting to roll out. I did see some news about this somewhere. Now I can't find it, of course. But yeah, the rollout has begun. So if you are a Kickstarter backer, you can start getting excited because it could be arriving in the very near future. Chris says, people that don't play VR anymore haven't even tried the good games 99% of the time. They played a couple of crappy ones and gave up. I mean, that's the only thing that makes logical sense. Because you would imagine if somebody tried like Lone Echo, and they tried Skyrim VR, and they tried Beat Saber, and they tried like Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Like, how could you give up VR after playing some of those games? How could you stop playing VR? You know, if you played Robo Recall, if you played Super Hot, if you played all, like 4 or 5 of the best VR games, how do you go back to flat? That is like, how do you, I'm not saying that you don't also play flat, because I know there's a lot of people that also play flat and they play VR and they mix and match. I'm talking about shelving your VR headset and allowing it to collect dust for 4 to 5 months because you're not into it anymore. That's kind of crazy. Charles Van Nolan said 2020. Well, what I was saying by 2020 is by the year 2020, if your headset is over $350, eye tracking should be standard, and pass-through AR, MR support, hand tracking should be it should be a built-in major feature of your headset, not something that may come a year later, 2 years later, or have like an experimental mode. It should be a built-in part of your headset. That's what I'm talking about as far as 2020. I guess I'm 1 year off there. Fluke Rogi says, I think there was something that got taken out of context regarding body tracking. I'm sure it was mentioned how the models in Dead and Buried moved well with your body. Yeah, don't know about that. I mean, it's not body tracking. That is the next great frontier in VR, is to have, I can't wait. I mean, I cannot wait. I'm sure Facebook in their labs have experimented with some kind of incredible body tracking where your body is really, really in VR. Because I've always, ever since I've been in VR, you see your hands floating, you have your head, you get into certain games. Some of them do inverse kinematics, and some of the inverse kinematics are halfway decent. But it's not like you don't look down and see your shoulder. You don't look down and see your chest. It's not quite there. And when we have legitimate, true, real deal, real time, instantaneous body tracking, and then I think we need to combine it though. I think we need to combine it. There needs to be a store that you can go to, like the Windows store, the Microsoft store, a Facebook store, or kiosks in the mall. You need to be able to go somewhere where you can stand inside a machine and it goes zzz, and it does an entire 3-dimensional body scan. It determines your exact height, the dimensions of every little part of you, and then that information is saved as your VR avatar. And so they would have a perfectly modeled 3D replication of your exact body dimensions, your exact height, the exact size of every little part of you, and then that's saved as part of your VR avatar. And then, so when you're in games and it's doing, somehow there's some kind of external body tracking. I have no idea how the hell this is going to work, but somehow there's some kind of external connect that you place somewhere that wirelessly communicates with the headset instantaneously to allow this tracking, because the headset is processing it, because it's a standalone headset, because that's the future of VR. I don't know how this is going to work, right? But eventually it tracks you, and then it uses that 3D model that it has of you with the tracking. So when you're looking at yourself, your hands look like your hands, your arms look like your arms, your legs, all of it have the correct body proportions. Are we like 10 years away from that? Like how far away is that? Because I believe when we have that, our immersion is going to be increased exponentially. Like it's going to be off the charts immersion when you can just look down and be like, holy shit, that's my arm. You know, it won't be real time, but the movements will be real time. And the model, like the texture mapping of your arm, will have all your scars, you know, any little weird things that you have with your arm, any weird situation, it'll be modeled in because you've got a perfect model of yourself. You'll be dialed into the game. It's going to be freaking incredible, but it could be like 10 years away. Charles Van Nolan says they're working on field of view plus resolution 2, so that's going to be in there. Let's see here. There's certainly a blah, 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 blah. Okay, so we've got, I don't know if that's Rudy Zavedno. Field of view is a life-changing experience. I've demoed Star VR in Berlin. My Samsung Odyssey feels so miserable ever since. That is a really good comment there, where you try something like Star VR and it's just never the same. He's going back to a Samsung Odyssey and he feels like it's just fucking such a step down after trying Star VR. Oh my God, that is the danger, folks, of trying a really high-end headset. You try a really high-end headset and you might be boned, you know, because you're going to go back to your regular headset and it's not going to be so great. Terry Blanchard says, the future is so awesome. Yeah, that's me, Terry, man. I love to think because we're really on the cusp here, guys. We're in the Atari 2600 days of VR, but we're starting to move towards that Nintendo Entertainment System era of VR, and that's going to be a giant jump. That really is. And then we're going to get to that Super Nintendo Sega Genesis era, and that's where it's going to be really awesome. But let's see, Bullet Ape says, don't think it'll happen in VR. It's free in AR. When both come together, we might have it good. Well, you know, maybe pass through AR, pass through VR, shows your body in pass through, but makes the everything else, like maybe it could just have your body in VR and then just everything else is the VR world. Maybe we could add that. We've got to get full body tracking. It has to happen. Chris says with 3 Vive trackers, we're already there. No, Chris, I don't think we are because, okay, yeah, you can get these Vive trackers and you can play games like Island 359 where you can kick dinosaurs with your legs and stuff like that. But the problem is I've talked to some people that have done it, and I don't think the immersion is quite there because even though you're seeing your arm move, you're seeing your legs move, it's not modeled to your body. You immediately have a disconnect. I think it's going to have to be like some real kind of body tracking and actual texture map, a texture map of like your real body, like your real arms, your real hands. It's gonna have to be something like that, and I don't know exactly how they're gonna do it. But let's see, Lone Echo does it really good. You can see your whole body in that. Yeah, some of the inverse kinematics in some games have been pretty good. There's definitely been some inverse kinematics. That's actually a good question. Like, what game has the best inverse kinematics of all VR games, period? Lone Echo is probably in the top 5, I would think. I'm trying to think what other games do inverse kinematics really, really well, and I can't think off the top of my head which ones it does. Chris says, I would love if the Vive 2.0 came with 3 smaller Vive trackers for full body tracking. Well, another thing we have to remember, guys, is these VR bodysuits. There's a lot of people that, there's a lot of different companies that are working on VR bodysuits, and I know it sounds kind of ridiculous, you know, to be wearing like some kind of crazy ass bodysuit, and how much is it going to be supported? That's always the chicken and egg scenario there. But with the VR bodysuits, that would be a way, because if it's a relative, like it could somehow really get your body tracked, and the dimensions could be good, and it could be instantaneous, and then maybe they could have some little vibrational sensors that are placed all around in different spots so you could feel slight sensations as well. I don't know, it's kind of crazy. Derb Jorgensen is checking in. He says clothing and shoes that tracked would be awesome and add haptic feedback. Yeah, imagine if you just had shoes that were perfectly tracked, and if the soles of your shoes had all kinds of different like texturing vibrations that you could feel. So like you could almost feel like you're walking on sand or you're walking on mud. That would be super cool. I've never even thought about that. Shoes that would have haptic feedback. That is like a really interesting idea. VRium says problem with Tracker is that they're moving while moving. Yeah, I mean there's a lot of problems. That's why I truly believe like some kind of external Connect, like Xbox Connect, but super, super, super advanced, way more advanced than the Connect. Some kind of external Connect that is tracking your body in real time. Now, that could be connected to the PC, but how is it going to work for standalones? Because it'd have to be external, and then it'd have to send that information back to the standalone in incredible fractions of seconds for it to be processed real time, for it to work, and for you not to have that discombobulation there. Terry Blanchard says they should have a VR tracking belt called the Hipster that you can use for gyrating the waist and thrust, etc., etc. Yeah, that could be used in some different kinds of games. Phil Yarn says Gunheart does full body really well. Oh yeah, Gunheart does have pretty good inverse kinematics. Bullet Ape says, let's face it, we're all going to need USB 9.0 slots in our necks in the future. Plus, you can charge your own phone. Yeah, imagine that. All right, folks. Well, it has been basically almost an hour. I know I didn't start right at 12 noon, but we've been going for a while here. I've got a lot of stuff to do. I've got to work on some stuff on my PC. My apologies for some of these shows that I've been having recently, because I don't think they are very good. Like, I think some of you guys that are like fans of this show, why is it not showing like my outro trailer? This is weird. Like, I'm not seeing my outro trailer, so I can't even grab my outro trailer. Something is kind of weird here. But anyway, what I was going to say, so I guess I won't have my outro trailer. Apologies for that. But what I was going to say is, my apologies for these shows. They're not good. These shows are kind of ass. If you're not a fan of me personally, you probably think like the last 6 or 7 episodes have been absolute garbage. The only people that are enjoying these shows are people that are just fans of this like channel, and they know me, and so they're okay with these crappy ass shows because they know me and they're like, oh, it's okay. But like people that don't know me and have somehow tuned into any of these shows, they have probably thought this is just absolute ass. And my apologies, because I haven't had topics, I haven't had things prepared, and because I'm not in my normal vibe, I'm not in my normal situation. But eventually when I get this PC dialed in, things will return to normalcy. So don't worry about that, guys. I will get it returned to normalcy. All right, folks. Well, I got to bounce out of here. Got some stuff to do, got some overclocking to do, and I will be back tomorrow. I believe we're going to have a VR Roundtable episode tomorrow, probably at 9 a.m. Pacific time. And this episode will probably start, tomorrow's episode of our show will probably start about 10 minutes after the VR Roundtable episode, which is usually ends up around 11 a.m., give or take. And so I will be back tomorrow. XMP might cause tracking issues. Yeah, see, there's a million suggestions, man. It's so hard. I'm going to overclock and just take it from there. I'm going to try to overclock the i5 2500 and I'll take it from there. And eventually I'll be back in the mix. So anyways, got to bounce out. No outro video. I don't know why I can't find my outro video. It's really quite bizarre. But anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and say bye. Later. Take it easy. See you guys next time. See you tomorrow.